Hey, Darrell, I think you're muted.
There we go. That might fix that issue. Well, as I was saying, we're going to start that thing on over. Hello and good evening, everyone. I am Darrell Smith from the Minority Outdoor Alliance. I am here tonight with some friends from the Georgia River Network and the American Canoe Association, and we are excited to announce this new summer live stream series in support of Georgia Freedom to Float campaign. So, with that being said, I am excited to introduce folks way cooler on this call than I am. Okay. I'm going to introduce our panelists. First and foremost, Miss Rena Peck from the Georgia River Network, our wonderful executive director. If we can give a digital round of applause there.
Thank you. Glad to be here, Darrell. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And then, of course, beautiful Andrea White from Georgia River Network and the ACA Southeast Regional Chair. Give a digital round of applause there. Can we do that? Just clap right over here.
Yeah.
All right. And then the man of the hour, Mr. Joe Cook, Georgia River Network. Joe, how you doing, man? How's everybody doing on there?
Good to see you, Darrell.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Y'all ready to rock and roll?
Do it.
Let's do it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I want to get into this. This is, of course, this campaign, the Freedom to Float campaign, is something that we are all just absolutely passionate about. And I, again, want to open this with quite a bit of a blessing and just thank everyone for being on the call, taking the time this evening to hear what we got to say. So I'm going to open it up with Andrea, if you don't mind, if I can send it your way first.
Sure. Yeah, we had a little bit more lively legislative session this year than we had anticipated having.
Yes.
There were a number of bills that got proposed. Luckily, not all of them passed. But we had a lot of debate and a lot of discussion, and a lot of testimony and activity that is seeking to define where it's okay for us to recreate. They're using the words navigable and non-navigable stream, and they ended up passing a bill creating a study committee, a House study committee, that later this year will be meeting to have these discussions. And we don't know yet when those meetings are going to happen or what exact format those meetings are going to happen. We anticipate, we hope, we're getting ready for public input and data and testimony and all the ways we can participate in that conversation. We don't know for sure what that's going to look like. What we do know is that study committee has been charged with making recommendations to the legislature, and what they recommend is likely to be the foundation for the next round of legislation we have to debate. So it's going to be really important to have the paddlers and our leaders engaged and informed and at the table. And so I'm just so excited that our Freedom to Float Coalition has helped to put together this live stream series, but as well as the other tactics we're working on to be engaged and to get our community engaged. And so that coalition includes not just Georgia River Network and my other hat, the American Canoe Association, but also American Whitewater, Georgia Canoeing Association, the Tennessee Valley Canoe Club. We're all working together, and they've all played a role in helping put this live stream series together so that we can bring some of the best local leaders in paddle sports around our state to talk about this issue with us over this next couple of months.
Absolutely. So I'm going to pass it to Rena. And Rena, we see you in the field. We see you all the time. And I really want to know from your personal in the field experience and you know, from somebody that's there, what's really at stake? What are we working with here?
Well, our public access to rivers is at stake, our right to boat. The 70 outfitters that rent boats and stand-up paddle boards and tubes, their livelihoods are at risk. And these are scrappy entrepreneurs introducing Georgians to our rivers so that we fall in love with them and want to protect them. And so I would just say that many of our streams are at risk of being closed to the public. And our public rite of passage is something that's just very American. We have the right to our public resources, and we want to support the state's robust outdoor economy. Georgia's a mecca for outdoor recreation, and a lot of it is based on boating. So we want to keep our right to boat, keep our outdoor recreation economy going, keep these folks in business, and keep tourism of our rivers booming, not just for the outfitters themselves, but heads in beds, different mom and pop grocery stores and country stores and places to eat. People come to these rivers, especially during the summer. Just think about 4th of July and all the people on our rivers and lakes. We've got to keep them open to the public.
Absolutely. Now, I kind of want to get into some of the details of these bills, and really, really, really look at it from a high level. And talk about some of the proposals within there, how these bills, how we can find ways to support entrepreneurs and local economies. Can we talk about that a little bit and elaborate some there? And Joe, I'm sorry, I'm gonna pick on you for that one.
All right, you're gonna take a stab at me.
Yeah.
I'll give a great example. Rena just mentioned the number of people that were out on our waterways July 4th. I went up to the Toccoa River this weekend, paddled a stretch there, and the outfitter there said they had put 1,000 people on that river on July 4th.
Wow.
At $30 a pop.
Wow.
That's $30,000 right there in a single day.
Wow.
Resulting from Georgia's rivers. So when we talk about the amount of outdoor recreation, tourism dollars that are generated because of our rivers, one study in 2022, $1.1 billion associated with boating and fishing in Georgia. So it's a big deal. And I guess one of the things that we haven't talked about is we've been talking about these streams being closed to the public. Well, how does that happen? Well, Georgia's law says that on a non-navigable stream, on a non-navigable stream, the property laws say you own to the middle line of the stream and you own the stream bed as if you owned the other land on your property. So if you own both sides of a stream, or if another property owner on the other side of the stream sees things the way you do, you can assert your property rights. You can say, I own the stream bed, and you can say, I don't want anybody passing through this stream. It is my property. And so you're setting up a situation where a single property owner would, based on Georgia law, be able to shut down a stream to the public, even streams that the public is using regularly and streams that outfitters are currently operating on. So that's a big problem, and the legislature needs to address that. And instead, what they've kind of done is they have been relying on this idea of a navigable stream. And a navigable stream was defined in 1863. The definition is a stream that is navigable is one that can float a boat loaded with freight. And basically, it was created when we had steamboats and cotton boxes floating down our big rivers. We no longer have any kind of commercial shipping on any of our inland rivers, but yet we are still using this 1863 law to define where the public has the right to paddle and boat. Paddle, boat, fish, hunt. And so we need to kind of relook at where commerce is taking place on our rivers in Georgia. And I would submit that there's probably no other time in the past 100 years of Georgia history when there's been more commerce taking place on Georgia's rivers. That's because of all these outfitters and everybody paddling these rivers and streams, and even the smallest streams in Georgia. We have more people using our rivers and streams than we have in the last 100 years. It's been since the steamboat era that as much commerce has taken place on Georgia's rivers. And we have to protect that commerce that is currently taking place on our state's rivers.
Absolutely. We really do. So look, let me move to Andrea. And can you tell me more about this live stream series, and how is it rolling out? What should people look forward to in the coming weeks? You know, what does that shape out to be?
Yeah, so excited about it, you guys. We've been working for months to pull this together, or in weeks hurriedly. So I mean, it's really coming together. But there's a lot of people working behind the scenes for the next 7 weeks. So all of July and all of August, every Monday night at 6 p.m. You tune in to the Georgia River Network Facebook page, or the Georgia River Network YouTube channel, or the ACA Georgia Facebook page. And you're going to find this live broadcast, and it's going to be 15 minutes or less. We're going to focus on a different section of the state, a different river every week. We'll have an outfitter. We'll have someone who can speak to the tourism and the municipal interest on the panel. And we'll have just that first person tell their local story testimony about a different part of the state every week for the next 7 weeks. And we're going to start with Columbus, because we have such a success story. I mean, you can look at what they've done in terms of creating a tourism and paddling destination in Columbus that the whole city rallied behind, and it's now become a real engine of economic development for the whole region.
Yep.
And they focused on whitewater rafting and freestyle kayaking competitions and a particular flavor of boating, right?
And and if you don't mind me answer this, pardon me, I mean, that's a significant feat. This has been on the world stage from what I understand.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The last couple of years they had the World Cup and then the World Championship. That's Olympic level competition for freestyle kayakers. They had athletes come from 40 countries.
And athletes that trained on other Georgia rivers that are at risk of being closed to the public, like the Carter Cay. So the live stream will move from Columbus to these other rivers that are in the crosshairs of being closed down to the public. So that would be South Chickamauga, Ebenezer Creek, Upper Chattahoochee, Carter Cay, Toccoa, places all across Georgia that are paddling destinations. So this is important to us as paddlers, but also boaters with motors, John boats too. They want their access as well. So we want to keep our rivers open. So we'll cover a lot of ground, Darrell.
Cover a lot of water.
Cover a lot of water.
A lot of ground, I guess, to get to the water, or however you want to frame it, but we'll get there.
A lot of river miles.
There you go.
And in comparison with other states, North Carolina and South Carolina's law is that if you can float a boat, you've got the right to boat. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we would like to see for Georgia. What is the highest, best use of our rivers and streams? In some cases, it might be paddling. In some cases, it might be trout fishing and conservation. But we've got to figure it out and make our rivers where they are open to the public unless otherwise closed, instead of vice versa.
Yep. Well, and I'm going to keep going there. We were talking about what we want to see. What about what the people want to see? How can they watch? Where do we find? How do they get in contact with all this great activity going on?
So it'll be a live broadcast Mondays at 6 during July and August, and it's on the Georgia River Network Facebook and YouTube channel and the ACA Georgia Facebook page. It'll also be recorded, so you can go back and watch it on demand later if you miss it, Mondays at 6. And then we're going to compile all that information. That'll become part of the materials that we will submit to the House Study Committee, because we're getting great local testimony and telling the stories that we feel like need to be told.
Absolutely. And speaking about stories, I'm gonna kind of deviate into a piece of a rabbit hole here. Can I hear just a favorite story that you guys have had on these rivers? I think, again, we can talk about the stats and the numbers and all of that stuff, but give me something, give folks a spark of what makes y'all happy on these rivers and why you're protecting them. And Joe, I'm gonna start with you this time.
You're muted, Joe. Yeah.
So I'll go back to the trip I had this weekend. Paddled down the Toccoa. Hundreds of people out on the water. Some in tubes, some in kayaks, some just hanging out on the banks of the river, enjoying being by the river, and also fishermen, fly fishermen out on the river, all sharing the river. And so seeing people and seeing families enjoying our rivers and just having that and making that connection with our rivers, that's exciting to me. Because when we get people out on our rivers, they start falling in love with our rivers, and then we get more people that are going to take action to protect our rivers. And our rivers need everyone to be protected.
Absolutely. Andrea, you have had a lot of success going on in the last year since I'd have known you, at least. What's bringing you joy on the water?
You know, I want to talk about the Cartacay.
Okay.
Because I feel like it's really in the crosshairs on this subject.
Okay.
And there's so much community and tradition on that river. You know, the whitewater boaters from all over the Southeast come there and paddle every New Year's Day. I've been lucky enough to paddle up there with a bunch of the whitewater veterans on Memorial Day. And that's a really special service. That's a special day to be able to do that. And I talked to Mason Hargrove and Stephen Wright and Clay Wright, some of our homegrown gold medal award-winning kayakers. And they talk about how when they were growing up, you know, at all of their various ages, when they were training on the rivers in Georgia, you know, the Cartacay was one of the places they learned how to boat, and now they're international champions. The idea that we might be considering making the Cartacay non-navigable, I mean, you just can't.
Yeah. Right. not with that kind of history, you know, we can't do that. Okay. All right. Now, Rena, you've just been the amazing filmmaker, direct. You know, we've seen Okefenokee Destiny and all gave a resounding round of applause. So what's bringing you joy after so many different, so much time out there too?
Just back to a swampy area, Ebenezer Creek, Paddle, Georgia. Last year we were on Ebenezer, and it's beautiful cypress, rope swings, just a whole lot of fun. And then to understand several months later, it didn't make the cut of list of streams that are considered navigable and open to the public, just hit my heart. So to have firsthand experience with a waterway that is open to the public, that Georgians deserve to use, just like you'd use a sidewalk walking down the road, you'd use a river going by property, hit me hard. So I'm excited about defending that, and for us all to be a voice for Georgia's rivers and Georgians' access to these rivers.
Wow. Well, that is brilliant. I'm just, you know, we're getting towards the latter end of this live stream, but I just kind of want to take a look in the comments really quick. Catherine Fox says she flipped her boat on the Cartacay. But, you know, it's things like that you know, there's stories, right? All of this is memories, is stories, is the successful fishing trip, right? It's the flipping of the boat, right? It's the, you know, for folks like me, it's the waterfowl hunting, right? And the memorable, you know, anything like that. That's why we're protecting these waterways and these things. So that's just really exciting. But look, let's keep the excitement going and talk about who's on deck for next week.
So next week we've got the success story from Columbus. So we'll have Jonathan Mann, who's a GCA paddler, former on-air news reporter from CNN, who's going to be joining us as the moderator. And he'll be joined by Dan Gilbert from Whitewater Express and one of the officials from Uptown Columbus. So we'll be hearing all about the Columbus story next week. That'll be a lot of fun.
Cool. Well, all right. So until we get there, what can folks do in the meantime to support, talk about where we can share these broadcasts? I mean, we are off to the races now. The train has officially left the station and we are we're floating down the river now. So how do folks keep this conversation going?
So share the broadcast, and we'll be posting a schedule with all the schedule of all the upcoming broadcasts, so you can keep track of which night your favorite river is going to be on, and make sure that all your friends are watching. Share the broadcast, share the announcements. We've got links here in the chat that includes our Freedom to Float home. There's several action items you can do there. One of which, there's an action alert for in-state residents and out-of-state residents, so that you can all send emails to the Georgia legislators that are on this committee. And you can all tell them in your own words that we need to keep these rivers open. We've also got the ongoing Georgia River Network Paddle-a-thon, and this year it's the Freedom to Float Paddle-a-thon. So you can be paddling along and turning in your trip reports and competing for prizes. At the same time, you're helping us document where people are paddling in Georgia. All of that data is going to become useful as part of our Freedom to Float campaign.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, let's wrap it up. Rena and Joe, take us out and send us on our way.
Jay, why don't you invite them on a trip, one of our upcoming river trips on an at-risk river?
Well, we do have several rivers coming up, river trips coming up. July 27th, we're going to be paddling the Toccoa, and then later in August, we're going to be paddling the Tugaloo up in far northeast Georgia and the Oostanala in far northwest Georgia. So we got lots of opportunities to join Georgia River Network and get out and see our beautiful Georgia rivers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I appreciate everyone for tuning in. Like I said, it's a blessing that folks would, again, give the time this evening to learn about what's so important to all of us. Andrea, Joe, Rena, I'm glad to know y'all and glad to be here to have these conversations and to moderate this discussion. So thank everyone for being here. And I think we can call that a wrap, folks.
Thank you, Darrell.
Thanks, Darrell.
Thank you, Minority Outdoor Alliance.
Yes. Thank y'all.